What if characters we create to teach our children could fundamentally change how society sees neurodiversity? Today's guest from Trinidad and Tobago is doing exactly that. Cameka Alexander, known as the Full Spectrum Educator, has created something revolutionary, a book that's not just about handwriting exercises, but about representation, acceptance, and the transformation. A full spectrum of penmanship gym activities comes with 8 animated characters, each representing a different neurodiversity: dyslexia, dyscalculia, autism, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, mild ADHD, severe ADHD, and delayed language development. This isn't just for children. Cameka's approach addresses adults who struggle with fine motor skills, who never learned to write comfortably, who carry shame about their handwriting. Grounded in the Caribbean philosophy that it takes a village, she's created a penmanship gym, yes, a gym, where hands get stronger through play, where screen time is replaced with connection, where writing becomes joyful rather than punishing. Well, let's get into the conversation about your book. A lot of persons, when it is that they write a book, they have different reasons for doing so. Some persons may use it as an opportunity to vent or to talk about a topic of interest. In your case, when it is that you wrote a full spectrum of penmanship and gym activities, what was the rationale for putting this book together?
The rationale for putting the book together was to give parents a tool to work with their children. In 2024, last year, I would have held a community outreach where some students came to my location and I would have worked with them. And they had so much fun. And what I took away from that was not just the fun, but what they gravitated to. Because for July, August, children are sent to camps, yes, but they are sent to lessons where they have to do work as if they're in school. They're continuing a day's work in school. But coming to me, they were playing. And
Uh,
while that play would have ushered them into working and developing hand dexterity,
mm-hmm.
so they were asking to come back. Very rare you'll hear children asking to go back to lessons because they feel as if they are in school.
Yeah.
But school had resumed this September of last year, and parents are reaching out to me and saying, Miss so and so want to know if you're still having the classes and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I did not. But I was
Mm.
like, okay, these children came to me for a few weeks. What can I offer for them to go home with something? So that's when I came up with the idea of the book, and it's also to get parents involved as well. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I mean, the question I asked was about the book, but I understand that you'd have had like a lot of experience in terms of teaching as well. I want you to go back to your experience in teaching, and I want you to think about that time when it is, or I don't know if it was like an aha moment, or maybe it was something that you were doing one day when you were like maybe like combing your hair or something, and you thought to yourself, the method that we use for teaching children in classes traditionally, that they just don't seem to be effective, and you wanted to come up with something different. Can you think back to that particular event and how it would have affected you, how it would have affected you approaching teaching going forward, and by extension, putting the book together?
Yeah, sure. If I could reflect, I would say I used to work at a private primary school,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a standard five teacher at that school.
Mm-hmm.
And standard five is SCA, of course. And
Pressure. I
the
remember the pressure.
children,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the children, they had challenges. Some of them were repeaters, some of them were writing for the first time. However, they had challenges, but at that time, I did not know any such thing as dyslexia existed.
Oh.
So what I was doing, I was teaching by ear. So
Okay.
if they read a passage and I'm not hearing certain sounds, so for instance, TH, CH, DR, whatever sound, I would listen in, zoom in to what I'm hearing and say, okay, I'm not hearing this. Go home, prepare exercises, search exercises, and come to class. And I saw improvement. However, not too long after that, COVID, COVID became a thing,
Oh,
and
okay.
there was online teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where parents as well as teachers, and I think even today we are seeing a ripple effect of it,
Mm-hmm.
where there are more children. We are wondering why so many children have challenges, and it's because they would have missed out on that interaction or that face-to-face interaction in the classroom. So that's when it piqued my interest, and I started to do research.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
started to do research, and I was like, "What is this thing?" And then I did a few short courses with a local institution,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Wow, I really love this." And I was like, I think this is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to do further research, and then I found the British Dyslexia Association,
Yeah.
and I would have messaged them, emailed them. They would have asked me to send them my credentials and so on. And they would have accepted me to do the both courses with them to do my practicum and so on. And they
Mm-hmm.
would have assigned me a tutor and invigilator and so on to mark my work, even though they are quite in the UK and I'm here. So I had to be recording my sessions,
Mm-hmm.
sending to them, marking me and so on. So that's how I really got into this feel of the special ed, this and that I love so much. I'm really, really passionate about it.
I mean, it sounds like your course of study was really rigorous. I mean, distance education initially when persons in Trinidad, when we hear about it, we think, I mean, yeah, I mean, it sounds like something that, it sounds comfortable, but the way that you describe it there, it sounds like in addition to teaching, you have to record, and it sounds something that you
It
have to have
was,
lots
it
of
was,
accountability with.
yes, it was. And a lot of redoing when
Hmm.
a little thing, so a few seconds or a few minutes in the recording, no, Kamika, you did not do this properly. I have to redo it. And it was a time that I'm happy that I have the experience, but I don't want to go through it again.
No, it sounds really useful because the fact that you have to record yourself, I mean, me interviewing persons, I know that one of the things that you have to put together is like a script, so that you don't go off track or off course. And at the same time, there are times when, sometimes you segue a little, but you kind of have to stick to the script. So I'm thinking about how it is that you had to do this activity, and I know
Yes,
that right now you're really active on social media. So I'm thinking the
yes.
activities that you did in class in preparation for your own course would have helped you in
Mm,
preparation
yes,
for your foray into social media.
correct, correct, correct.
Look how things came back full
Absolutely.
circle, by.
Full circle. Full circle.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the interaction between you and your students. In terms of your book, I know that it contains I think it's eight neurodivergent characters based around dyslexia, dyscalculia, autism, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, ADHD, and delayed language development. I mean, when it is that you sat down with your students and said, I don't know how it went down, if it was a matter of like, let's create characters to represent how your minds work, how did they respond? Was it like this, or did it, happen differently from this?
I was amazed. Um, when I told them, they were excited.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I didn't expect them to gravitate to such an idea. I think they wanted to do working class, working on the characters more than actual work. I had to say, here, but we have to balance. We have to strike a balance here, okay? Yes, we're excited about these characters, but we have to get our work done. And it brought me to say, like, it's so amazing how you tell children your dream
Yeah.
and they encourage you and they say, they didn't ask questions. They just ask, Miss, when can we start? What do we
Mm.
have to do? I was like, sometimes we tell adults our dreams and it just, we get shut down, you know? So it was
Yeah.
really humbling for me to share that experience with them. And even coming out of that, that idea would have led to the event that passed on July 12th, that we
Yes,
had
yes.
3 different teams being represented at a sports day. So I love working with them. There is a lot of development to happen around the characters,
Mm-hmm,
but for
mm-hmm.
now it's just the plushies, the little plushies, small plushies. But they were very accepting of it,
Yeah.
and they, they continue to encourage me in that area for sure. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember attending the event. It was very colorful. There was a lot of energy at the event and everything. I remember that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, everyone had
definitely.
fun, and persons were dead tired after. I mean, fun like.
That was the purpose of it. If you have an event or sports day like that, after putting all of it and you're not tired, that wouldn't be the purpose of having it, right? So,
You
yes,
know,
it was really good. And I did the support, and of course, thanks to you for showing up and supporting as well.
yeah, I mean, thanks for the invite. I really did enjoy myself. I mean, next time, if it is I mean, if it is I had asked the question before, you should have said, "Hey, you should come to our sports day." I mean, we're having it again. You know, it was really great the first time, but you'll really enjoy it this time around. So, yeah, but you know, what? Next time.
Yes, next time, yes.
To do this kind of work, you have to have a particular mindset. Or what led to you looking at neurodiversity as a spectrum of gifts, as opposed to just being like challenges to be overcome by persons?
Right. So, yes, there are gifts. There are challenges. We cannot let loose of the challenges and say, we can't ignore the challenges, I should say. Yeah. But in everything, sometimes I think there's good and there's bad, or there's good and there's much to overcome. Sometimes I think we focus too much on what's to overcome as opposed to shining light on the gifts that learners have with these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is a variety of gifts because a child in my classroom setting, a child with dyslexia may have the strength that another child may not have. And it's allowing that child or that learner to shine in whatever strength or whatever strong point that they have to
Mm-hmm.
share with others among them, which builds self confidence. I see the self confidence grow. I see willingness. I see bravery. I see openness. So that's what makes me say or realize in my classroom setting that it's gifts and it's about tapping into that gift. And even sometimes they don't even know their gifts. But
Mm.
because we have the theory, or I have the theory behind what they bring into the classroom, I'm able to see certain things. Some of them they love to work with their hands.
Yeah, yeah.
So bring them into the setting or bring out lessons in the setting that will allow them to. So, for instance, I have a few of them who love to draw,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the plushies, which is the characters, lent itself into the drawing aspect. That's why they were so excited. They
Mm-hmm.
want to draw every day. They want to edit every day. So it's about making the classroom theirs. One of the things I've been thinking recently is why do we ask teachers what can they teach? Instead of, I think we should be asking teachers, how do they learn? Because teachers, I think we tend to teach the way we learn.
Mm-hmm.
And that hinders us reaching certain children in the classroom. So if I know I'm a visual learner, I'm able to understand and not just understand visual learning, but I'm able now to tap into who might be auditory, who might like kinesthetic or tactile learning. So it's all about understanding the child and bringing forth the classroom in a way
Yeah.
that appeals to them. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, it's interesting that you identify that some persons are really good at working at with their hands because it kind of leads into the other question that I'm going to ask. Because as an educator, I think one of the things you identify that education is more than just completing a curricula. Are there any areas or topics that would have come up that you saw that the curriculum just couldn't address?
Hmm. That's a very good question. There are topics that are definitely difficult to bring across in a, and when I'm saying this, I'm thinking mathematics, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are some, well, the training I would have got, you teach mathematics. A topic is taught simultaneously in three ways. There's the concrete, there's the
Mm-hmm.
pictorial, and then there's the abstract. We focus a lot on abstract, which is the writing and the column, working column statements. That's abstract. But we do not include the manipulative or the concrete and the pictorial. However, um, I found it very challenging with certain topics in mathematics in particular
Mm-hmm.
to marry the three together, to bring the three across in terms of concrete, pictorial, and abstract, where sometimes you have no choice but to just stick to the abstract,
Mm-hmm.
but then the child has the challenge of understanding. So what do we as educators do?
Hmm.
You know? So it always boils down to going back to the drawing board and
Yeah.
finding a different way, I guess, to bring it across in the classroom. It's never this way, and it has to be done this way. What if that one child, just that one child doesn't understand? Then the topic is not complete.
Hmm.
If at least one doesn't understand, the topic is not complete. So then you have to find a different way
Yeah. Yeah.
to introduce the topic so that that child could understand as well as it's a benefit to the other students because they have a different perspective. Yeah.
Okay. It's a lot of work for educators, and I do think that persons appreciate the extent and the distance that some of you guys go to ensure that just that one child, leaves with an understanding of that topic. Yeah. So
It's
hats
not
off.
an easy, it's not an easy.
Uh, I believe that you would have had experience not just with households or families in Trinidad, but also Barbados and Jamaica. And I know that when it is that persons face learning challenges, traditionally, it isn't well received by households. Um, have you observed any patterns that are common across the islands with persons and learning disabilities? Or let me not say learning disabilities, but different ways in learning?
Acceptance and denial. Um,
Mm,
yeah, it's a real thing. Not every parent is open to hearing that their child has a challenge.
mm,
Um, you start thinking of yourself. What did you do to cause it? Start self-blame. You don't know where to turn to for help or for assistance. But the common pattern, I can definitely say that throughout the Caribbean is that more support is needed. And the reason why parents are not as, some parents, I should say, are not as involved as they should be is because they don't have the tools to be able to support. And let's face it, let's be honest. Anytime, most times, a child comes to class with a talent, it's because it's hereditary,
mm,
right?
mm.
And what I've realized is in working with children, the
Yeah,
parents who choose to get involved,
yeah.
when they dive deeper, they start looking at themselves and they realize where it came from. So
Mm,
we are seeing parents who are in helping their child or in helping their children to succeed or what have you, are having conversations with me and saying, Miss, I'm now realizing that I could be dyslexic. Or Miss, I'm now realizing that my spouse is on the mild spectrum of autism and this is where such and such. So it's not it's not an easy it's not an easy ride. And as I said, the denial and acceptance is very there, difficult to accept, and they deny. And but as I said, for those parents who dive deeper,
yeah.
they start looking at themselves. They start doing some introspection
Mm-hmm.
and we come to a solution. And with the introspection and the realization, they are now able to be a little easier on the child. Because sometimes you want to beat, sometimes you want to scold
Yeah.
because they play in the pool. And sometimes it's not even that. It's like your child doesn't know how to communicate that I am having such and such challenges. And of course, it isn't aware of their learning challenges. So what do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They lash out, they not listen, they don't listen, and so on and so forth. So yeah.
I mean, what you said there was so much. I mean, I used to laugh at it sometimes for like SE and back in my day, it was common entrance, but a lot of parents were invested in the learning of their children. And it's interesting that you would say that in assisting children, some parents come to some realizations about themselves. So it just goes to show, I mean, to the parents who are invested in their children and who work together with them, I mean, it's beneficial, to both the children and also to the parents, not just for the learning and the understanding of the child, but also for the learning and the understanding of the parents.
Yeah.
But it's great that you have a tool such as what is outlined in your books, etc., so that when persons find themselves in situations like this, I mean, you are there providing like consultancy services, and you have your
Yeah.
workbook there that would help and guide and assist in a solution out of the situation. So yeah, yeah.
It's very deep. It's very deep. Yeah.
And can you describe the moment when it is that you were taking the time to explain or to convey like an idea or a topic? And you were experimenting with different ways to convey the idea. And then eventually, the child receives the idea. I keep on saying child because we learned, a few moments ago that sometimes it's not necessarily the child. Sometimes it's the adult
Exactly.
working with the child gets that
Right.
moment of that epiphany, that realization, and understands what it is that you were trying to convey. In a moment like that, how did you feel, or how do you feel?
I celebrate, I clap, I welcome my students, and this one of the things I try to build self confidence. I focus
Yeah.
a lot on right. So I don't want them to be too much, like nobody wants to laugh at me. I One of the things as an adult, I've learned to laugh at myself
Mm-hmm.
because we are not perfect human beings. We make mistakes. We do some things that we question ourselves sometimes. So when they have that aha moment, man, we clap, we celebrate, right? They themselves laugh, we laugh together. They ask for more questions, even while with parents or adults, when they have that aha moment, it's on my part is more silence because I'm giving them their space to share and to come to that realization. And I feel accomplished. I
Mm-hmm.
feel accomplished because I'm realized that in my day to day, I'm not just reaching the child, I'm also reaching the parents. And that's a big deal for me because I don't just see this as a day to day job. This is something that's very close to my heart, and I consider it a calling. This is my calling, and I'm going to steward this the best way I possibly can. And in my prayer time, I pray for my students and I cover their families as well. So if I can, when I'm reaching the extended family, if I'm when I'm reaching beyond the classroom, it's humility. It's a sense of accomplishment. It motivates me to move to go on more,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's in a nutshell the feelings that I experience. Yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, obviously, to our listeners right now, we're not speaking just for students. We're not just speaking for parents who may be listening to this conversation that we're having. We're speaking for persons out there who are educators. For the educators out there who are listening, what advice would you give to them to make their classrooms a bit more inclusive? Not, not next week, not next year, but tomorrow. If it is that school were to reopen tomorrow, I mean, in Trinidad, I believe we're still on vacation. But
Yeah.
if school were to open tomorrow, what advice would you give to them? And maybe like it could even be an activity from your book that they could try that would have an immediate difference for a struggling student.
All right. So the first advice I would give is to build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit different because teachers have their children for their class for a year, and
Yeah.
then they move on. But in my case, it's a bit different. But within that year, make that time count. Get to know. I mean, some classes are really large, and it's difficult on a teacher on a day to day to execute as well as to build relationships. But it's very important to build that relationship where that child who is coming to your class or the child who's coming to my class know that they have this space and this outlet to be themselves and an adult because some of them they don't have that support at home,
Mm-hmm.
right? So sometimes we focus so much on curriculum that we forget that we have humans sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
So that relationship aspect or
Mm-hmm.
that safe space
Yeah.
where they can come and they can say, Miss, they can say, Sue, such and such and such, express themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or even if it's with the very young ones, love them, hug them, make them feel that they have a space in you. So that's outside of the curriculum. If I have to speak on a topic or an activity in my book, I would definitely say zipping and buttoning. Reason being is because I think that is one of the activities that the children can apply and learn
Yeah.
on a for future. Because some of them who have challenges with dyslexia don't know their left from right. So for dysgraphia, they may not be able to tie properly, zip, button their clothes. They have to go to school. So if we could get to that activity first
Yeah. Yeah.
and build their confidence there, I mean, and there are many different ways. It's not just it doesn't. They don't just have to work with clothing.
Mm-hmm.
We could do boards. We could do like snakes. So you tell a story, and when the shape comes up in the story, they button or they zip. Or most times, well, for the snake, one is buttoning. They button the shape onto the snake. So there's a wide variety of activities in different ways to get things done, more creative, and that will appeal to the children's interests and fun. So I would definitely say that activity because, as I said, buttoning and zipping, they have to do that on a daily basis. They have to wear clothes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so build their confidence there, and then you can move on to other activities. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Uh, your work is creating quite a stir in the Caribbean, if I want to phrase it like that, because obviously education is a big thing. We spend a lot of resources in it, and when it is that, sometimes we're not able to, I don't want to say get returns from it, but the methods that we're trying not getting results. But we see you here now, who's trying something different, and you're getting results. We can't help but, follow or be more invested in what it is that you're doing. For persons who want to support your movement and are going as far as calling it that, your movement, how can they
Right.
give support you? Should they follow you on social media? Should they just, give you a thumbs up? How can we support you in your undertakings?
Right. So I go by this mantra, it takes a village, because I want to build the objective is to build a community of people who support each other.
Mm-hmm,
We need
mm-hmm,
each other's support, especially in working with learning challenges. Cannot do it alone. Because you have many parents who say they feel alone, they have nowhere to turn. So it takes a village. High Achievers Consultancy Services is the name of my organization. You can be
mm-hmm.
followed on Instagram and Facebook. Or my brand is the Full Spectrum Educator, where I share in things on what education is in general.
Yeah,
Um, Also, Facebook and Instagram. Those are the platforms that I'm on for this new upcoming term. I'm looking to delve into YouTube some more, so I'm
mm-hmm.
there at the Full Spectrum Educator also.
Right,
I'm on
right.
LinkedIn also, which is Cameka Alexander, the Full Spectrum Educator. But definitely post, like the page, follow the page, and let's get the word out. Share the post as much as you can. So whomever you can, I know that persons have messaged and called and said that just by listening to the few, like the 60-second or the 75-second videos that I post, how much it has had them thinking and even realizing that, hey, this could probably be a challenge that my child has. So definitely social media is where I'm at, and I look forward to hearing and the support, of course. Yeah.
All right, all right. And we see that you're very active on social media. So it looks like you're
Yes.
covering all your bases.
Yes. I try to. I try to.
Obviously, there are a lot of persons who are listening to this conversation that we're having right now. If it is that they were to have one takeaway from what it is that we were to, that we, all the things that we spoke about this afternoon, what would you like that to be?
One thing I would like for them to take away from this is that, as I would say, they are not alone to get around persons who are going through the same, who can understand um, what they are going through. Um, for parents, I would say there's nothing to be ashamed about. I know you said one thing, but I just feel as if I can say so many. Yeah, it's nothing to feel ashamed about. And for teachers, I would say, um, let us rally around each other to support students to get the best that they could out of the classroom. That's a definite message that I can put out there for educators. Let's rally together. Yeah.
Okay. For listeners who want to follow your journey, who want to work with you, or who want to get their hands on a copy of a full spectrum of penmanship gym activities, where can they find you and where can they find your work?
Okay. They can find me on Instagram or Facebook at High Achievers Consultancy Services or the Full Spectrum Educator. I can also be well contacted by the phone 723-7814. The book is not in bookstores. It's on Amazon. However, I have chosen not to put it in bookstores yet because of the other services that I offer. I want the opportunity to interact with my customers. So that's the route I've chosen for now. So to get a copy,
Mm-hmm.
just contact me either via on any social media platform. I'm now starting off on TikTok, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not there full-fledged yet, but definitely Instagram and Facebook or via WhatsApp or call 727. Yeah.
All right. I mean, that information that you gave there, I'll also put it in the show notes for the persons who also look at it at this interview. They will be able to contact you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right. And that brings us to the end of our conversation this afternoon. Thank you very much again for making time to have this conversation, Miss Alexander.
Kevin or Mr. George, whichever one I can call you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I know that this conversation has been long overdue,
Yeah, yeah.
but I'm happy to say that we have had it, and I appreciate you even featuring me on your platform, and I look forward to working further with you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I really think that persons would benefit from these services that you offer. And if we're able to help get the word out about that, then yeah, I think everybody wins.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, you as well. A full spectrum of penmanship gym activities reimagines what support for neurodivergent learners can look like when we apply Caribbean community values, when we center the voices of the students themselves, when we recognize that adults deserve support too, where strengthening hands becomes joyful play, where it takes a village isn't just a saying but a practical framework for inclusive education. For our listeners, you can find Cameka's book at the link provided below in the show notes. You can follow her transformative work at the_full spectrum educator on Instagram and on LinkedIn as the Full Spectrum Educator. Whether you're parenting a newly diagnosed child, teaching a classroom full of diverse learners, or you're an adult who's carried shame about your handwriting for decades, this book says you belong. Your struggles matter, and with the right support, transformation is possible. Thank you, Cameka, for building this village and inviting us all in.